Hey guys, welcome back to Heart Breathings. If you didn't know, I'm doing just a two-part video on how to have a really successful writing retreat. This is something that has been so useful and beneficial to me in terms of getting so many books out per year. Like last year, I got 5 books out, which is kind of a record for me. It's a lot of books for me. I usually get more like 2 or 3 out in a year, but even to write 2 or 3 books in a year takes a lot of focus and a lot of hard work. So I really relied, especially last year, on really good writing retreats to help me get like a larger amount of words done and get really focused in on my story. So yesterday I uploaded a video on just a behind the scenes peek at my most recent writing retreat with my friend Zoe Dawson, who writes Navy SEALs and other types of romance. And we've been friends in Critic. She was actually my very first Critic partner. We've been friends for years and we go on writing retreats a couple of times a year. So I uploaded that vlog. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, I'll add a card up here on the screen somewhere, and I'll also link that video in the description down below so you can check it out. And today is part 2, where I'm going to give you my top 10 tips for having a successful writing retreat. So let's get started. So number 1 is to know what you're writing when you leave to go. So spend time before you head out to your writing retreat and make up note cards. Even if you're a pantser, it can still help you to write out just some little note cards of ideas for scenes that you have coming up, because there's nothing worse than getting to a writing retreat that you've paid for, that you set time aside for. Like as a mom, it is difficult for me to get away from, the house and everything, because I hate to leave my son for a few nights. So I'm making a sacrifice. My husband is making a sacrifice because he's taking on more duties than he normally does, with our son and with the household and stuff. So it's a sacrifice to take those 3 or 4 days off, but hopefully the reward outweighs the sacrifice, and it only happens a few times a year. But there's nothing worse than making that big sacrifice and then getting home and getting there and realizing, I don't know what I'm writing exactly. So when I sit down to sprint, it's just like nothing comes because there's pressure or there's like distractions. So knowing what you're going to write ahead of time, even just a basic idea of a scene on a note card or a little bit of a bullet point of these are the scenes I'm going to work on, can really go a long way, because when you sit down to write, you know exactly what you're working on. That's huge. Number 2, setting a goal. So kind of getting an idea of, on average, how much do you write per sprint if you're writing in sprints, or how much do you write per hour if you like to write in longer chunks, and then try to decide about how many hours are you going to be able to work every day, or how many sprints do you want to do every day, and multiply that out and decide what your goal is for the writing retreat. For this retreat, I set my goal at 20,000 words, and sometimes I will set it only at maybe like 15,000 words, and sometimes I'll set a goal more like 30,000 words. It just kind of depends where I am in the story. If I know things are flowing, if I know I can push myself a little bit harder because I've gotten lots of rest in the past. And so it just kind of depends what your personal goal is, what your personal best is. And it's not a competition thing. Like you may be going away for a 3-day writing retreat, and you know that like if you could just get 3,000 words a day, that would be a huge win for you. So you may set a goal of only 9,000 words, and that is still amazing because you spent the time, you got immersed in your story, you made a lot of progress. So it's not about like comparing yourself to, oh, I can't write 20,000 words in 3 days, or, oh my gosh, I could write 40,000 words. It's not about that. It's just about what is your personal goal when you go in, and setting that goal and kind of knowing where you want to be can be really motivating along the way. Number 3 is to keep track of how you're doing in regards to that goal. So especially when you're spreading a writing retreat out over several days, it can be helpful to know not only your goal for the entire retreat, but your goal for each day. So when I set that goal for 20,000 words, I was hoping to get about 5,000 words the first day, and then that would spread the other 15,000 over the next 2 days, which would be about 7,500 words a day. And I didn't quite make it to the 5,000 on day 1, so that let me know, since I was keeping track, that I needed to kind of step up my game a little bit on day 2 and get more like 8,000 or 9,000 words. So you can kind of see in the vlog how I made up that time when I only got about 3,500 words the first day. But when you're keeping track, especially like I like to do with that sticky like flip chart paper on the wall is super nice. Like I do keep track of it in my planner too, but I can keep my planner open, but there's just something about having a writing retreat where you put that poster on the wall and you can see exactly how many words you've gotten, how much progress you've made, or how much you've been slacking off and talking too much or eating too many chips or like binge watching Netflix or something when you shouldn't have been. And then you can say, oh man, like wake up on day 2 and you say, oh my gosh, I barely got any words written yesterday. I've really got to get to it. So it can be a motivating factor to keep track in a place where you can see it front and center. So number 4 is to remove distractions. So that means turning your phone on do not disturb, even potentially taking some of your social media apps off of your phone, turning your your ringer off, telling your friends and family, hey, I'm going to be gone for 4 days writing. Please do not disturb me with text messages or anything else unless you absolutely need me. Setting your phone in the other room. You could just go put it in the charger and only use your laptop for your timer if you're doing writing sprints. But removing distractions as much as possible, and especially social media, is key, because I find when I'm sitting down to write, I often am more susceptible to distractions because the writing is hard work. It's very focused in work. And if I am just sitting there kind of not sure exactly or not feeling motivated, especially when I'm like 10,000 words into a writing retreat and I'm starting to feel kind of tired, I'm very distractible. So it's very easy if someone sends me a message through Facebook Messenger for me to get wrapped up in a conversation. And before you know it, an hour's gone by and haven't gotten any writing done. So removing those distractions, particularly when it comes to social media, is key for a successful writing retreat. I talked about this some in the video, so I won't cover it too much, but number 5 is to eat healthy. And I know there are probably many of you out there that love your like cookies and soda and Red Bulls or whatever else. So, if this doesn't work for you, then, just try it on your own. There's no judgment here, because this is the way I used to do writing retreats too, is I would be like using it as an excuse to buy all the snacks, to order pizza, and have all this kind of junk food and everything else. And I was really addicted to sugar. So I just happened to notice when I would do that and I would really like binge on sugar, have lots of snacks, be eating chips while I'm writing, having Red Bull to keep me up all night. I noticed that I would, have maybe one really good night where I'm like fueled on all this sugar, and then I would completely crash for day 2. I'd want to sleep in. I'd start to feel really lethargic. It's like when you come down from that sugar high, you just completely crash. So of course you could always give yourself little treats along the way instead of binge eating. It's not like an either or thing, but that was just my experience. So when I cut out sugar and flour and I started really going healthy, and actually before I cut out all sugar and flour, I started eating healthier on writing retreats and writing nights, even though I was still eating kind of junky foods on a regular basis. I specifically tried, okay, I'm going to take things like celery and peanut butter or carrots, or like have nice dinner at the hotel restaurant or something, and just have like a meat and vegetables instead of having bread and things that kind of weighed me down. I used to write at this Marriott that had like one of their appetizers was this hummus plate that you could get instead of getting like pita bread. You could get lots of veggies. And at the time I was like not a huge fan of eating lots of veggies, but I would eat that anyway and get a water when I would go to write there at that hotel. And I just happened to notice that when I would fuel my body with these healthy foods, I would get so much more done, and I would be able to stay up later. I would have such a more clear mind. I wouldn't have that like sugar crash. So as I said, this is not a judgment thing. So if you like your junk food, go ahead and eat your junk food. If it motivates you to be able to eat your Oreos into the night, then go for it. But I just personally have found that the healthier I eat throughout the writing retreat, the better I feel, because I'm more awake and my brain is more alert. So cutting out sugar, breads, that kind of thing, and really eating lots of vegetables, lots of good protein, and only drinking water has sincerely helped my productivity and focus on writing retreats. Okay, we're halfway through the list. So number 6 is to find a comfortable space. So when we pick Airbnb, I go often with my friend Zoe. We'll go writing together, and I have a few other friends that I've been on writing retreats with. And whenever we go, we take a look at the space and we make sure that there's a good, comfortable couch. There's a good, comfortable space to sit all of our stuff out. And if there's no good table, because you'll find at a lot of hotels, like there won't be tables in the room, or you'll find some Airbnbs, even the tables are really small. Or I think I mentioned this, the last one we stayed at, we couldn't tell from the pictures, but when we got there, we were kind of disappointed because it had one of those like bar top tables. So it just wasn't super comfortable to be sitting at a high top table the whole time. So we mostly worked on the couch. So just make sure that you have a comfortable space and bring things with you that make you feel comfortable. Bring your best PJs, bring your favorite pillow, bring your little, Hello Kitties or your crystals or whatever it is that you want to bring that make you feel more comfortable, that make you feel more productive, and surround yourself with those things. Your candles, your like any kind of motivational figurines, or your favorite like hand warmers, or just whatever it is. If it makes you feel good, like your favorite earbuds that don't hurt your ears, whatever it is, just bring those things with you, because you want to be as comfortable as possible. Because when we talk about eliminating distractions, if you don't have the things that make you feel comfortable to sit and write, then you're going to be more distracted when you're writing. So be comfortable. Make sure the space that you're renting or going to is also comfortable and filled with comfortable things. I will just throw in here as an aside that if you do end up going on a lot of writing retreats, you'll start to notice that some places have better energy for writing. I know this sounds crazy, but like I've been to beautiful places that were just gorgeous, like right on the lake, but it just didn't have a good energy to it. Like the space or something didn't have this like flowing energy. And both me and my friend that were there neither one of us could really get the words flowing. But then like my friend Bella and I stayed at this cabin that was really inexpensive, like super cheap. And it was right on the lake, but it was like really old, like kind of run down, kind of ratty couches and stuff. The kitchen was very, it was kind of like you imagine like an old fisherman, like used to use this place, but, very inexpensive, very rustic, we'll say. But that place had energy. And every time we went there, we went back 3 or 4 times. And every time we went, we just got so many words done and we were just flowing with lots of words. So if you find a good place that has really good energy, that is also a good tip to keep going back to those places and to not go back to places that you felt did not have good energy for you for writing. Number 7, enlist the help or company of your friends. I've been on a few writing retreats where I've gotten a lot done when I go by myself, but in general, I really enjoy having my friends there, like at least one friend or 2 with me. You do end up talking more sometimes, so that can be a little bit less productive, but it's also good when you have the kind of friend that you can say, okay, we're going to sprint from this time to this time, or we're going to work really hard from this time to this time, and then we'll have dinner from 6 to 8 where we'll cook and we'll get to chat, and then we're going to get right back to work. So if you find the kind of friend that is self-motivated in that way, that you can really trust to say, okay, it's time to stop talking, let's sit down and write, then I think it can be really helpful. I also, like I said, have a Facebook group of friends where we will sprint together. And so I went in and we did a virtual retreat while I was gone on my real retreat, and they joined me in on a lot of those sprints and everything. So it is very helpful sometimes if you can enlist the help and energy of friends who are actually sprinting. But on the flip side of that, just make sure that you're able to tell them, okay, I'm done talking, I'm done chit-chatting about this stuff, because it can become a very social distraction as well. So be ready to put the hammer down, when it's time to start writing. And I know, just as a side, like I know I've mentioned the sprinting group on Facebook several times, and I always get a lot of questions here about what's the name of the group and that sort of thing, but it's kind of a small group of friends, and so they don't really want to get huge and like invite hundreds of people into the group. So it's not really an open group, I'm sorry to say, for me to just invite everybody into. But if you guys are really interested in me starting a heart breathing sprinting group, where anyone who watches this channel is interested in getting together and doing writing retreats, like virtual retreats or writing sprints together, let me know and I can maybe get that started for us all to join together as a community. So put that in the comments. So number 8, of course, is writing sprints. And I've talked about this many times in my channel. That is basically just picking a time, like 15, 20, 25 minutes. That is, usually a smaller, I think anything where you start to go over like 25 or 30 minutes, you start to get diminishing returns. But I do know some people that like to sprint for a full hour. So you just will find what works best for you. I personally like 20 or 25 minute sprints. And then after each sprint, you take a break. So you can get up, walk around, get a glass of water. But having that like focused time with a timer going on and you've got absolutely no distraction can be one of the best ways to get a lot of writing done on a writing retreat. So instead of saying, I'm going to write from 8 a.m. to noon and then have lunch and then write from 1 to 4, and you've got this just big chunks of time where you're just kind of slowly starting to get some words and you're kind of thinking about it, and then you're talking and you're doing this and you're doing that, you might find that over the course of 4 hours, you only get 1,000 words. But if you sit down and you sprint and you say, okay, I'm going to focus for 20 minutes, no talking, I've got my earbuds in, I'm going to be completely focused for 20 minutes and go, and you let that timer start and get going, then you might find that in 20 minutes, you're able to write 500 words. So in just 2 sprints, you've already maximized your output that you could have, that you did in 4 hours of just kind of leisurely writing. So I personally find that writing sprints has pretty much changed my life when it comes to productivity. So I highly recommend them on writing retreats. 2 more. So number 9, this is just a writing fast kind of thing on a writing retreat. And it kind of depends on what your goals are for the retreat itself. But I find that it helps to just completely turn off my inner critic, to not go back and read what I've written, to not try to edit it, to not try to make it better. And as I'm writing, if I hit a point where I'm like, well, this completely sucks, but I really want to get this writing sprint done, I will even sometimes write it into my manuscript. I will write an XX because I always go back and edits and look for all the X's in case there's something I need to fix. And I will write a note to myself and say, I know this is the worst thing I've ever written, but I'm going to keep going, go, go, go. And then I will keep writing, but it kind of gets it out. It's like releasing that inner critic and saying, I know these aren't my best words. I know they're going to have to be edited later, but I'm here to get as many words as I can so I can discover this story. And that can always be edited later, but you can't edit a blank page. So just get the words out and stop trying to critique every single word. I find that helps at writing retreats because you are just trying to open up your heart, open up your mind, and just let the words flow. And there's going to be some words you'll throw out, but there will be some really good stuff that you'll discover too. So turn off that inner critic. And my final little tip here is to reward yourself. So have a reward in mind. You've got your goal in mind, have a reward in mind. And sometimes, yes, the writing retreat itself is a reward because you kind of got to get away. Maybe you were staying by the beach or another beautiful place by the lake, but it really helps sometimes to have a reward, even if it's something small. Like when I get home, I'm going to reward myself with a whole day off of binge watching YouTube videos, and it's going to be glorious. That can be your reward. Your reward can also be, once you've finished for the day, a walk on the beach. If you're still there at the writing retreat, you say, okay, if I hit my 5,000 words by 2 p.m., I'm going to go for a long walk on the beach. But just having those little rewards that you give yourself along the way is just so beneficial because writing is hard, guys. It is really tough. And I think that people who are not writers don't realize how difficult it is to get all the way through, a 100,000 word book. And then when that's over, to turn around and edit it and try to polish it and publish it, and then turn around and write another book in that world or even in another series. Writing is not easy. So when you are able to give yourself that gift of, I'm going to focus in, but you're kind of pushing yourself to, I'm going to write 20,000 words in just a week or just a few days. And you're kind of forcing your mind to focus in for long periods of time. It's just really good to give yourself that reward where you say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. I did such a great job, kind of pat on the back. So don't forget to reward yourself. I sincerely hope that you guys enjoyed both the writing retreat vlog and these top 10 tips for how to have a successful writing retreat. Please be sure to let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in having a heart breathing sprinting group where we all kind of get together, have virtual writing retreats online in a Facebook group, and where we do sprints together throughout the week. I would be happy to start that if there is interest for it. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that happen. Also, let me know if you're going on your own writing retreat or if you have been on a writing retreat lately and how it went for you. And if you enjoy them, if you think that you're going to utilize some of these tips that you didn't do in the past, or if you're planning a writing retreat, I'd love to hear more about your story and your journey. I know that it can be a luxury to be able to go on writing retreats because not everybody has, even $150 to go out with a friend and spend for a couple of days. But if you want to, I can also do a video on how to have a virtual writing retreat, which is something that I just recently have started doing in my private sprinting Facebook group with my friends. We did this for this most recent writing retreat because there are a lot of people in that group who can't get away due to having young children at home. Like when my son was really young, I couldn't do this obviously because I couldn't leave him behind. But now that he's almost 7, it's a little easier because my husband can help out. But a lot of you have younger children at home, or it can be kind of a financial burden to try to get away for 3 or 4 days to an Airbnb and that sort of thing. So virtual writing retreats can be just as helpful, or even hotel nights where you're just doing one night. So if you'd like to see more videos on how to do a virtual writing retreat, please let me know. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll get notified whenever new videos come up from Heart Breathings. I have lots of great stuff coming up in the next few weeks, so I hope that you will join me as we talk about writing and planning and organizing your entrepreneurial life. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed these tips, and I hope to see you in the comments. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.